Okay. Okay, sir, madam, everyone, we are about to get started. And the first thing that I want to call out and tell you is that this session is not about building metro-style applications. This session is about web. And my name is Vishal Joshi. I work on Microsoft as lead PM for different projects like Visual Studio, ASP.NET, WebMatrix, Web Platform Installer, and several other things. They keep shuttling me around, and I keep moving around. But today, I'm super, super excited to be over here. And even though my title says lead PM, I'm going to go and change that to web developer. My hope is that this session comes out as a session from a web developer to all you fellow web developers, right? So with that, let me go ahead and start and just tell you what WebMatrix is. How many of you have used WebMatrix before? Okay, some of you have, and some of you haven't. So all of you who have, you already are part of the family, so you have to basically allow me some slack when I keep trying to talk about some of the things which you might already know. So WebMatrix actually is a web development tool. It is an all-in-one web development tool. And it has things for you to get started from an existing open source app or from templates. It has got web server bundled inside it. It has got standard support. It has got scripting support, both ASP.NET PHP, different databases, MySQL, SQL Server, and it has got optimization tools like search engine optimization to optimize your site. That is just a high-level overview of what WebMatrix is. It's right now out in RTM v1. And what we are going to do today is to actually, the quick agenda, debut WebMatrix 2 beta for you guys. Today, right now, WebMatrix 2 went live, and you can go to webmatrix.com/next and download it, but just not during the session. Afterwards, you can download it, but it gets downloaded in less than 5 minutes, so it could actually happen now. So that is what we are going to do. That's one most important agenda. Second important agenda is to build a website in 60 minutes. How do you guys like that? Want to do that? Okay. How about we triple that deal and make 3 websites in 60 minutes? Huh? Okay, we'll do that. And then finally, we will have fun, right? The fun part is because people attend conference learn a lot of things, but at the same time, they want to have fun. So the idea is that we'll have fun. And if that is also not sufficient for you to give us glorious reviews, then we are going to go and give away free stuff at the end. And it is real free stuff. It's not the tablet, but it's still real free stuff. So with that, what we will do is that because we have very little time, we are not going to spend time on slides. We are going to immediately move into building a blog. How many of you guys have a blog? Okay, cool. And how many? So the remaining people, we are going to just help them understand how easy it is for them to build their own custom blog. Right, so I'm going to jump into demos. This is WebMatrix. It is the start screen. And before I start building the blog, I want to tell you something that usually when I am going in and writing code, I want to make sure that I do not have any distractions in front of me. So that's why I listen to music. Right? I listen to music while I'm coding so that there is no interference. And also many times because in the next room, there are TV shows with the name Orange County in it playing, and my wife is watching them. I love Orange County, but not the shows. So I'm usually like trying to focus. And many developers do that. And in WebMatrix, what we've tried to do is that as philosophically, we have tried to say, we want to make sure that we reduce distractions for developers. Make it simple, elegant, so that you can focus on your code. Everything else zones out, right? That's the whole idea. So I hope while you see this, you will appreciate the niceness, the pixel perfection, the gradients, and stuff like that. The projector does not do a good job, but your tablet will. So download it over there, check it out. And while with that, what I'm going to say is that there are ways by which you can start your site using templates, which we'll look at later. But for the blog side, we are going to start with App Gallery. Now, App Gallery is Windows application gallery, which contains free applications where you can start with, which contains PHP as well as ASP.NET applications. And you can see if you want to start off for blogs, you can check out there are different blog engines available. If you want to start off with CMS, there are CMS available, e-commerce, forums, and so on and so forth. So you can pick whichever one you want. If you go down and check out, sometimes it also tells you the information on how many times an app is downloaded. And some of them are downloaded several million number of times. In this case, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use ASP.NET open source application called Umbraco. And I'm going to name this as WebMatrix blog. And hit next. Now, note, do you guys know about Web Platform Installer? Okay, some of you know. Web Platform Installer is an installer which allows you to install products, as obvious it is, and then it also configures them, pulls out their dependencies, and so on. Web Platform Installer 4 is integrated inside WebMatrix. This UI actually tells you all the progress it's going to do. And the first thing that it's asking me is that what kind of database do you want to use for your site? SQL CE or SQL Server? I'm going to take SQL CE. It is pre-installed. But if you have not installed it, then it will automatically install it for you. So I'm going to hit next, accept EULA. It is going to right now install the application. Now notice that you will not ask any extraneous questions. Because we know that certain things we can take for granted. Earlier, there used to be a lot more questions that we used to ask. What is the exact name of blah, blah, blah that you want to have, and prefixes for certain things and stuff like that. All of those are gone. In V2, this is super simplified, and you can see that the app is already installed. Now, when I click OK, I'm going to go down to WebMatrix UI, where I can see my site. WebMatrix at a very high level really quickly has 4 workspaces where you can actually manage your site, which is a dashboard, files, databases, and reports. Right? Here you can see that WebMatrix is actually customized with Umbraco icons. Right? So in WebMatrix 2, we allow extensibility by which all these apps can extend themselves and provide you a customized experience. The whole idea behind this is that once you have a customized experience, they can tell you what to do once you get Umbraco. Right? In this situation, it's telling me start here. Super obvious, right? So I'm going to click and start here. And this is Umbraco configuration, right? So Umbraco is installed now, but now it is configuring itself. So let's get started. The MIT license. And then I want to use SQL CE. Now it is installing tables. What it means is that first time we installed the database engine itself. Now it is pre-provisioning the tables that are required for Umbraco to run. So that is what it just did. I'm going to hit continue. Right? And now this is the administrator password and username that I'm going to use. So that is my name. That is my email address in case you want to send me an email and say how much you love WebMatrix 2. I always love getting those emails, so you can send me as many as you want. No, but even otherwise, if you have any other questions about Microsoft or anything like that, feel free to send me an email over there. Now, this is creating the admin user. Umbraco is configuring that. And now what it is doing is that asking me to pick any one of the starter sites that I might want to use. Because we are building a blog, I'm going to click on blog. And right now it is downloading and installing the starter site. Now, remember I picked SQL CE. How many of you actually know about SQL CE? OK, a reasonable number of people. So I'll make it super short for people who do not. SQL CE is actually an in-memory database. And what that really means is that you can put the database engine inside your site and deploy it to hosting provider. That means that if you go down to hosting provider, you don't have to buy a database separately. Now, you would imagine that if that database exists, then why do people use anything else, right? So the reason is because there is always a catch, and the catch is that you cannot go above 4 GB. But if you're not planning to go above 4 GB in DB size, then that's a completely acceptable option. So here, it allows me to pick up different skins that I want. I'm going to click on this skin. And you can see the Umbraco sunrise while it is installing the skin. But you have to basically give it a thought that even if this all stuff didn't existed, if WebMatrix was not there, what would typically a person do to install a blog on their local machine with their database and stuff like that, right? You research what kind of an app you're going to use, then you go ahead and say, OK, I'm going to go and configure IIS, all the IIS settings, then I'm going to download the files, put them correctly, install a database, create admin password, go to their documentation, change the right configuration files, hook all of those things together. And it may be done in 3-4 hours, but it still takes that much amount of time. And right now, I'm completely done with that blog site. I'm going to just go ahead and set up the new website. And you will see that this is the screen, this is the admin screen for my blog. And these are all the blog contents. And this is going to open the blog content over here, where I can go and edit my blog, or if you want to create a new blog entry, you can go ahead and do that. Now again, all this stuff is Umbraco, right? Umbraco gives this stuff to you in the box. If I go back to WebMatrix, you can see that I've got all my files laid down over here. All the databases are all set up correctly. So if I go back to files, and now let's say, for instance, on my welcome page, when someone clicks on welcome, I want to play a video just talking about who I am, what I do, stuff like that. Then in this situation, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pick master pages, and there is Umbraco blog post master. I'm going to open that stuff, and this is again standard ASP.NET stuff. You can see that there is full colorization for WebMatrix and all those stuff. And here in the entry content, what I want to do is to play video. Now, everyone knows that there is HTML5 video, right? Like, does everyone know? It's just most popular, celebrated stuff. We actually have got all full IntelliSense on HTML5 inside WebMatrix now. So you can basically do video, audio, section, header, whatever you want to. All of that is fully supported. And what additional is there is that Umbraco in itself is extending WebMatrix and has a macro, which I can use, and I can just say HTML5 video snippet. So I click on that. It's pre-configured with some Big Bug Bunny, the standard H.264 video sample. I'm going to click on it, and what just happened was that the snippet just got inserted over here, right? Now, obviously, it says the source is the root of my site, but my root of the site does not have this video. So I'm going to go down over here, right-click, and add an existing file. And there is the Big Bug trailer. Install it, and then just run our site for the first time. Right? And notice that it is running on localhost. So that is my local host, local web server for IIS Express. I'm going to click on welcome. And the welcome page comes up, HTML5 video comes up, and running that, hopefully, is the standard Big Bug Bunny stuff going on, right? So with that just simplicity, we basically got a blog application all created with video running, audio running, and stuff like that. But anyways, so that was the whole idea that's the whole idea that within no time, you have a fully functional blog. You can now go ahead and configure and stuff like that. So that is our simple first site, start from an existing application and build a blog site within no time. You literally did not have to code anything at all. So how do you guys like that so far? Good? Additionally, on top of that, I have a quick quiz question. Do you guys know which is an existing website which powers almost close to 2.7% of the web, which is used by probably 2,800 different governments, is used by Harvard and GE and eBay and Citibank and so on? Anyone has a guess? No? It is Joomla. And Joomla is again a PHP-based application. What we saw was ASP.NET application. And to show some stuff about Joomla, we have Joomla co-founder Brian Tiemann with us on the stage. So please welcome Brian Tiemann, and I will go away from in between you guys.
Just close down this ASP stuff. So, as Vishal kindly said, my name is Brian Tiemann. I'm the co-founder of Joomla, which is a PHP MySQL open source CMS. I've come here from England, and once again, I've got the dress code wrong for the event, wearing my suit. And it's much more of a geeky event, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to get a little bit more comfortable. And as we said, Joomla powers 2.7% of all the websites in the world. Now, 2.7% of all the websites in the world is quite a lot. We just recently celebrated the 25th millionth download of Joomla, just the English language version. And Joomla is actually available in 64 different languages. And in fact, I think I saw last night that the 65th language, Scottish Gaelic, was released. because it should have been 66, but I never quite finished the Klingon version. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start showing you some WebMatrix and some Joomla. So I've already started building the site. We can see it here. It's called Spread the Joomla Love. I'm just going to go ahead and open it up. Let's have a quick look. Where am I up to so far? Well, as you can see, I've already put some content in. I've installed a template, a theme. Joomla is available. There must be about 10,000 different themes available that you could just go ahead and download. Or, of course, you can just create your own. Now, you'll notice that over on the right-hand side, over here, I've got a big gap. And that big gap is because I wanted to install a news feed. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to log into the administration back-end of Joomla with my username and password. And WebMatrix did all the installation of all of this for me. This is where a Joomla user would typically do all their work. They'd create new articles, new categories, upload media, create menu links, etc. What I'm going to do is look at a module. In the Joomla world, those bits around the edge of your website are called modules. Other applications call them widgets or things like that. Joomla calls them modules. And we can see I've got a whole series of modules already installed. But Joomla is designed to be super easy. So if you want to create a new one, you click on this big button which is mysteriously labeled New. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it's going to give me a choice now of about 25 modules that are built in with Joomla. We have an extension gallery, an app gallery, with about 8,000 contributed extensions. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put in a feed. I'm going to give that a name. I'm going to type the feed URL. And hope that my fat fingers don't get in the way. I've got a spelling mistake, I'll check it. Yeah. And just configure a couple of options. I'm going to choose it to display 5 items for the feed, and just in case there's any really long ones, I'm going to truncate it at 25 words. Now, I've now got to tell Joomla where on the page to put it. We've got this thing here called position. The only problem is I don't know what the position's called on the template, because every different template designer has their own positions. So there's a little trick. You can go to your website, you can add on the end $TP equals Bill Gates, and it will display all the release information. Technically, it's TP equals 1, but I thought Bill Gates was easier to remember. And you can see here we've got various positions like above 1, above 2, etc. And when they're not being used, they just collapse out of the way, so we're not left with big gaps. And here we've got this position right. That's the one I want to use. So I'll go back into here. I'll put in position right. I'm going to save that. And go back, and there we can see the newsfeed already in. Now, the only problem is it's OK, but the CSS on that's a little bit ugly. I want to give it a bit of magic. So I'm going to go back into WebMatrix, go into my files, open up my templates and the CSS for that. And again, we can see full CSS colorization, etc. You don't want to sit here and watch me type in 20 lines of CSS. So what I've done is I've installed an add-on for WebMatrix that's called Snippets. There's a new feature in WebMatrix 2, which is a gallery of add-ons specifically for WebMatrix. Currently, there's only about 6, but that's not really surprising because it's not actually launched yet. But this is something that anyone who uses WebMatrix can contribute to. So I'm just going to insert my newsfeed CSS. And we can see it's inserted some CSS for me. Now, I'm using a few CSS3 things like border radius, and of course it's got completion, but it's also got the vendor-specific CSS, which is very important because we do want everybody who's using your website to really see it as you designed it and not be compromised depending on their browser. So it's got all of that in there. Let's just go ahead and save that and refresh this page. And we've given it a bit of CSS love. You can tell I'm not a designer because those colors could do a little bit of work. But we've done that. We've got the news feed in. Now, one of the next pages I wanted to look at was this one here called Useful Links, which is a collection of links that which are useful information for people interested in Joomla. And again, this page doesn't look great. I could just do some CSS styling, but I actually want to change the layout a bit of it. Now, Joomla uses MVC architecture. We've heard quite a bit about MVC architecture here at Build, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the components, into the web links, and you can see there my controllers, my helpers, and my views. Go into my views for the category, go in there, find the right one. Oops. So it's right, open it up, and I'm going to start changing it. And oops, warning message. What does that say? It says you're about to modify or remove a core application file. Are you sure you want to? So there's a new feature in WebMatrix 2 that prevents you from touching core files. Yeah, why don't you want to touch a core file? Well, if you do, whenever you update Joomla or whatever the application is you've got installed, you're going to lose your edits, and you're going to have to do it all again. Or you choose not to update. And choosing not to update is never a good idea. So here it's warning you not to do it. Now, Joomla has a great feature. It lets you actually override the views in a special folder in your templates. Now, because of that, you put your view in there. When you do an update of Joomla, it's going to update the core files. It's not going to touch your template, so all your custom work is still there. So I'm just going to go ahead and create the folders I need. And rename that one, because my fat finger's got in the way again. And got a new folder. Category, and create the new file. Now, when you're creating a file in WebMatrix, it lets you open up a file in multiple templates. Yeah, HTML, CSS, PHP, TXT. I'm going to just select the text one because I just want it to be completely empty. Give it a name. Here's my blank file, and again, I'm going to use a snippet just to save a bit of time. You can see once again, just as in with ASP, there's full syntax highlighting for PHP within IntelliSense completion. It's a fairly simple PHP script I've got there. It's just taking some of the data that's been returned by the model, putting it in a for each loop, and spitting it out onto the screen. There's one extra line in here, which is just for Joomla, which is define JExec or die. And that just means that this file can only be accessed by Joomla. Someone using the web can't just browse and access this file. So I've got that in there. I'm just going to press save, go back to the site, and refresh this page. And I've changed the layout, I've changed the styling on it. And as I said, no kittens are going to get killed because I haven't overridden any of the core files. So updates are going to be fine. Now, for a Joomla developer, they're typically going to do most of their work either in their template or in the Joomla administration that I showed you before. Although it uses the MySQL database, it's unusual for a Joomla user to actually touch the database. I'm going to do that, though, because you may have noticed that Joomla is always spelt with an exclamation mark at the end, Joomla with a bang. And that's fine and it's when it's in the titles, but it starts to make reading text difficult. Yeah? And being a naughty boy, although the rule says I have to spell it with the exclamation mark, I like to get rid of it. So I could just go into the article and edit the article. It's a nice, easy WYSIWYG editor. But I've got a lot of articles on here already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. There's a quick way. I like cheating and doing things quick ways, because like all web developers, I think we're all fundamentally lazy. I'm going to go into my database. And here it is. And of course, remember, this is a MySQL database now, not just a PHP, not just a SQL database. And here's all my tables. Open that a little bit. So all the tables that Joomla's content's in, and I'm just going to write a little quick query. To replace all the instances of Joomla with a question mark with Joomla without the question mark. I'm going to execute that query. Unknown column in Troy text. Very good, fat fingers. New query. Whoops. Execute. Command completed successfully. Go back to my website. Refresh it, and all those exclamation marks are gone. So it's super easy. It's a nice, quick way. So I do have access to go right into the core data of the MySQL database if I want to. Just as a little aside, some of you may have spotted this article here. Microsoft signs the Joomla contributor agreement. It's kind of strange. The open source guy at the Microsoft event. Yeah, traditionally, maybe Microsoft and open source not had such a great relationship. Microsoft actually have contributed code to Joomla. Joomla is a GPL licensed thing, so Microsoft had to contribute that code under the GPL license. We think that's the first time that's ever happened. We're quite proud of that, and it kind of shows, open source is not the bad guy. So here we've got our site. It's all ready. It's all done. I'm ready for the next stage, and the next stage is to publish my site. At this point, I'm going to put in all the details for my hosting server, click save, and it's going to upload the site to my live hosting account. Now, you don't want to sit here and watch me do that, so I've done it already. And the domain is spread.joomlalove.com. And here we can see it's live online. You feel free, you can check this site out at any time. It's going to stay up there for quite a long time. It's got lots of things, community news, all the useful links about where you can find more information, books. We even have I've put together a nice little HTML5 section with some videos, example sites that you can create with Joomla, some of the examples of the government sites in Joomla, and just because I built this site, a video of me speaking. More places on the internet that have got videos of me speaking, the better. And as of tomorrow, this video will be online on Channel 9, so even better. And just because I could, as you can see, the website is also mobile aware because it redesigns the site based on mobile using app media selectors. So that's really quickly, I was able to take WebMatrix with Joomla, use the regular Joomla tools to add a module, use the WebMatrix tools to touch the CSS, use the WebMatrix tools to create that PHP view override, and also use the WebMatrix tools to touch in the database, all within one application without having to do anything else. So on that note, I'm going to sit down and shut up and hand back to Vishal, who's going to show you building the third site in the 60 minutes. So thank you very much.
We had a contract that he could take out the jacket but not the pants, but he still did. Well, anyways, thank you so much, Brian. He came all the way from UK to show you this stuff over here, so I hope you guys really appreciate. So once again, a big round of applause for Brian. So what we saw just now was creating one site, which was an ASP.NET pre-canned app modification. Second was Joomla, PHP app, MySQL. And third, what we are going to do is to actually create a site from scratch. So this is going to be a little bit longer, and this is going to spur up a little bit of coding hormones in me, I guess. So let me close this thing and close this PHP side, and then go ahead and open the templates. Now, ASP.NET templates are now enhanced in WebMatrix 2. We've got some extra templates which are all filled with goodness of HTML5, CSS3, jQuery, JavaScript, and stuff like that. One particular one which we will use right now is starter site. So you can take a starter site to build any kind of site. What I'm going to do is to try to build a site for submission of new sessions to build. So for instance, the goal is that we create a site which you can use afterwards to submit sessions for WebMatrix vNext in build vNext. By no means I'm saying all these things are going to come at some particular point of time. But for instance, if you want to make a site which would submit sessions, that is what we'll try to create out of this starter site. So I'm going to just call it as build session proposer. Click OK. And this time you're going to see that the site which is getting created is pretty bare bones. There is no customization because it's a sample template. And what we will do first is just run the site, close all these things. And again, this is the same template that you might have seen in the keynote. This is the same template that we use for ASP.NET Web Pages, MVC, web forms, everything, so that you can basically get a little bit familiar with it. But what we want to do is to make this site look slightly like the build windows, right? So not much, but at least what we can do is to try to make sure that the color green can be replaced over here with color blue, right? So what I'm going to do first is to go down to WebMatrix, go to the files, and I'll talk about a lot of these files a little bit more in detail. But styles is pretty simple. It's always there. And then you have CSS. For sure, something in CSS will be what we will need to change. And what we really want to do is to make this blue change to this green. What I'll try to do first is try to find out what is that color blue that I want to replace. So CSS3 editor in in WebMatrix is same as the one which is in Visual Studio. And now you can see that when I click colon, I get a color picker inside the stuff. What is so special about this color picker? It can be fully operated within just keyboard strokes. Like you do not even have to go through a mouse. And you have to, but in a special situation. And what I can actually do is that it shows me the most recently used colors in my site. So it's actually crawling through and then identifying what colors I'm using. And in this situation, it's saying, oh, you are using this color, right? What we want to do is to replace this color. So I'm going to copy that text. And the standard replace shortcut, Control-H. I want to go and replace that. Now this, typically, I wouldn't know what that color replacement is going to be, right? So we want to find this first, though. So let's first find that. And here is that particular color. And you can see that it is used at several places. We want to replace all of it. But what do we replace it with? So what I'm going to do in this situation is to go down to WebMatrix and then try to identify what this color is, right? And what are the tricks to identify which that color is? Usually you can go to browser tools, like check CSS, try to find out which color is being used. But with WebMatrix 2, we have a better way. What we are going to do is simply go down over here, again use the color picker, but this time use a down arrow and go down and use the picker. So I can actually go here and say, oh, that is the color which I really want. So click that, hit enter, and you will have that color ready. So all I'm really going to do now is to come back over here, paste it over here, and replace all. And then run the site again, and there, my color is changed, right? Really, really simple, but you can go ahead and change that, right? So next, what we want to do is to actually make this site a little bit more lighter in content. And I'll tell you where all the content is actually coming from. So there is this default.cshtml, which has got a bunch of content in it. If you go and look at it, then there's these all content which exists, right? We want to make that content become simple. What I'll first try to do is that show you that there is default new.cshtml, site layout new.cshtml. This doesn't come with the template. I have hacked the template to have that so that I don't have to change the content in front of you. So allow me to just go ahead and delete the site and default, and then just rename these guys. Okay, so now when I run this page, you'll basically see it's way more lighter, right, on content. But you see that the build logo is missing. Now where is this build the build logo is referenced at some place. Right now, let me just go ahead and add that inside this existing file. So go down over here and add the build logo.png. I clicked it twice really, really fast, so it does that once in a while. And then the site is looking kind of like build, right? So what we want to do next is to try to go ahead and make these all links live, because all of these links are not really live, right? And I want to get that thing added. What I'm going to do is to first go back over here and let me ask you all how many of you really know about ASP.NET Web Pages Razor syntax? Okay, so kind of 50%. So the 50% of people who know, please cheer me up if I'm doing anything wrong, but the rest of the 50, I'll try to explain you really, really fast what ASP.NET Razor syntax does. So in this default.cshtml, which is the first page which is rendering, in that you will notice that there is curly bracket which starts it. Now this is the transition character. is a transition character in ASP.NET Web Pages. The whole idea behind ASP.NET Web Pages that we had was just write HTML. Wherever you need to do something on the server, transition into server, do it, come back to HTML. So wherever you're seeing this background color of gray, that is when we are transitioning into the server-side code, and otherwise we are staying back in HTML, right? So here what I'm saying is that layout is equal to site layout.cshtml. What this particular thing does, if you notice, there is no HTML head tag or body tag in this page. The reason why it is not there is because it is saying, please use the layout page, which actually will tell you the standard stock content of the site. So every site has got like a header, footer, logo, image, and stuff like that. That is what is inside the site layout.cshtml. So if you go back over here and see, that's where I'm using the doc type of HTML5 and all these standard stuff which is put down over here. Now what is interesting to note is that there is, again, over here, href @href, right? So what is this? This is actually the syntax for giving app relative URL. And this is a helper inside Razor syntax to do that. So if I go down and hit backspace, I actually will have full fidelity IntelliSense or code completion for C# and VB in WebMatrix 2, which is a reasonably big deal. You now have full code completion. And what this href is doing is that it's saying, pick up this site.css from that relative location and put it over here. And if I keep going down, at some place over here, you will notice that there are two calls with @ says render section and render body, right? The render section actually says featured, false. So what does that really mean? That it actually is saying at this place in the site layout, you have to render anything which is called as section featured, right? And if it is not there, then that's cool. That false is essentially required or not, and it is not required. That section is optional. So that is what that render section does, and then the render body is where the actual body is getting rendered, right? So what I'm going to do, if you notice, that is what is actually happening with our default.cshtml. This is our section featured, and this is the content of the featured section. Again, it's using HTML5 section tag, and then the remaining content is of the body. So that's how those all things merge together. They come out, and then they get displayed. Now, if you are curious to know more about Razor syntax, means it's very limited amount of time, so I'll not spend a lot of time, but I want to show you one really awesome feature of WebMatrix which will help you with that. So if you click down over here on this help button is not an ordinary help button. It is super, super powerful and interesting help button. I'll tell you why. Because it is contextual. What it does is that it understands the context of WebMatrix, and then based on what you're doing, it gives you the right help. So in this situation, you can see that it says CSHTML file, which is C# HTML, and then we have VB HTML as well, which you can use to learn more about how to do that. And I can click on this ASP.NET Web Pages book, and you can see that how to write code using ASP.NET Web Pages. It also has got content from the partner site. So Pluralsight, for instance, has created a bunch of videos, especially for WebMatrix users, to go ahead and learn about web pages. So if you click on that, a video will start playing, and it will take time to load, but you can see that there the video starts playing.
On ASP.NET Web Page.
So I'll save that for later, but the point is that if you want to learn more about Razor syntax, you can very easily go and look at the contextual help. But now what I want to really do is to, as we were trying to run the page earlier, and we saw that this particular page doesn't have anything, we want to build that page, right? So what I did was that I used NuGet gallery. Now, how many of you over here know about NuGet? Awesome. How many of you over here are NuGet fans? Awesome. So yeah, so what we did was that we integrated NuGet right inside WebMatrix, and there is a NuGet gallery now in WebMatrix 2, where you can actually reference and use all the NuGet packages which are available for WebMatrix web pages users. Also in WebMatrix, you can add a source where you can actually point it to any local package. So for instance, here, you might notice I am pointing to a local directory. And once I do that, then I can go back to the local packages directory. And there are 2 packages which I created for this demo. And I can pick one of those packages and just hit install, accept EULA, and now the package is installed inside WebMatrix. What did the package do? What did the NuGet package do? It actually installed a bunch of files inside it. Just so that you know what it actually did, I'll quickly open this NuGet Package Explorer. How many of you know about NuGet Package Explorer? Okay, very few. So I'm giving some additional piece of information to a lot of you guys. This is, again, available on the web, and you can use this to inspect the content of any package so that you can make sure that people are not lying on what it is going to do. Or, for that matter, you can create a new NuGet package over here. It's a GUI tool, so you can create the packages very easily. In this situation, Tao on our team created this package, and the content over here is list all, proposed session, and stuff like that. So these are all the files which we just added. I'm going to go back and, well, we are not here, but let's go back to WebMatrix and see one of these pages so that we understand what is the kind of code that we have written, right? So in this page, this is the speakers.cshtml, right? This page is doing pretty simple stuff, the same concepts that we talked about, layout and stuff like that, but it is using a special WebMatrix API, super simple API. What it does is that it has got database.open, and it is using starter site. Now, this is, again, running by convention. If you know that app data is a special folder inside ASP.NET where you can actually put database content. And here I'm saying starter site.sdf, right? I can click on that and just check out what that thing looks like. Tables, build session, and you can see that this is new database manager UI as well inside WebMatrix, where you can actually now create tables, you check out its definition, and work with its keys, relationships, and stuff like that. So it has got much enhanced DB functionality so that you can go around, play with it. But going back over here, looking at the code, it is just running database.open on that SDF file and then running a query, select distinct, and then essentially the data comes back, and then you're iterating through the data and showing it. So it is that simple, and similarly, we have the other pages which do very similar type of functionality, right? So if we run this thing now, then you can basically see that all these things work with sessions and stuff like that, right? Now, the key purpose that we wanted to do was to work on this page, which is proposing a session to build, right? So I'm going to go down over here and open this one. This is a slightly more complicated page, but still super simple. What it is trying to do is to collect all the form variables for all these text boxes and submit it into our database, right? So here, that's why I have got some variables which are defined. And if I go down, you will see it says, if it is a post, then go ahead and pick up the variable session name, description, speaker, set them up. And then finally, there is a simple DB query, which is an insert query. You can see that we are using parameterized queries so that there is no SQL injection attack, and then execute the query. And once the query is executed, then you redirect, right? So if I just do that, then the page will work. But what we also want to do is to make sure that people do not enter random variables inside those pages. So we need to add some validation to the page as well. Now, in ASP.NET Web Pages 2, we introduced special validation syntax. I'm going to show you that validation syntax, which is brand new. So I'm going to comment this page off, comment this code off. And again, notice that we have validation.required field. It is as simple as just give the name of the field and the error message. And if you go down over here, you will notice all these fields which are there. There is session name, and we are just saying pick this session name and validate it and make it required, right? The same thing is with description. And if I go down and check over here, there is a helper which says add. speaker email, and this time I'm using validator.regex, but I have got validator. Bunch of other things, date, time, decimal, float, and bunch of other things which I can just straight away use instead of like trying to write a bunch of logic to validate it on the server side. So making validation really, really easy. So if I run this page now and go down to propose, and if I hit propose session, it gets the errors, right? So really simple way to do validation. But what is interesting to note is that if I run this using IE tools, right, and I go down and run the network trace. So let us start capturing the network trace. And then I'll go and hit propose session, right? And you'll notice that there was post back, which happened, right? Now for these simple things like validating things are required or not and regex or not, you really do not want to go down to the server, like the network connection over here seems okay right now. That's why it's fine, but otherwise it would take much longer. And this is just localhost, but otherwise it would take even longer, right? What we want to do is to actually change this to make sure it is client-side validation. And typically what you would do is that you would go down and say, hey, on click of this button, go and start writing your jQuery or JavaScript code, and then like say, hey, this is how we will validate, right? But we've got a better way. What we have now is this special code, which you can go down over here. And now I have small snippet. I cannot even write this thing right, which look at how simple this thing is, validation.getHTML. But I thought that maybe looking at you guys, I'll be so scared that I'll type that thing wrong as well. So I made a snippet. Well, on the other hand, Brian was daring enough that he wrote that entire SQL query over here without missing it, right? So, but anyways, this validation.getHTML, I'm just going to paste this code everywhere for all these 4 things. And I'm positive you're going to love this. So check this. I'm going to say speaker email. In this case, we want to do speaker. And then we want to do description, right? And then the session name. So save this thing and run it again. Go down to propose. And this time, let us start the network trace. Start capturing, and then hit the button. There is no network traffic, right? Voodoo, black magic just happened. And, right, but, so now if you actually want to save time and keep moving on, then you just remember this is how you do it, and it will just work. But most of you probably will not be happy with that answer, so let me explain you what actually just happened. Right-click and view source. Let me make the, is it good at the back of the room? Yeah? Okay. So notice this special syntax which got injected inside your page. Data-val required, and if you go down, you'll basically see data-val regex, and then here is the regex and the value, right? Now what does this really, how many of you know about the data-attribute in HTML5? Like some of you. It's like this magic ticket which you can use for everything, and people are using it for pretty awesome stuff. What it is that anything which is data dash will be an acceptable attribute for any element. And hence what is being done is that we have used it for special things like, okay, this is the regex that we need to use, this is the validation that we need to use. And as you know, we guys are fan of jQuery project, and we use jQuery validate in this situation, which is what actually does the magic. What we have done is that we have written special library on top of it. If you go down to the bottom of the page, you will see that there is jQuery validate min and then jQuery validate unobtrusive min. And the unobtrusive min is what we wrote to do the special validation on top of jQuery, which is how both the server side, client side, both validation works very well. And then that's how you basically get the result. And while I'm here, let me also mention that always remember that you should try to put your scripts at the bottom of the page, your CSS at the top of the page. Because I think most of you might already know that, but that essentially allows your styling to just come through, and then you add the behavior so that even if the JavaScript was not to load, your page will at least be visible for people. Right? So that's why it follows the best practices, does the right thing. Now what we want to do next is, obviously we do not want anyone in the world to go ahead and start submitting sessions. So what we want to do is to add some kind of security to it. So let me go back over here and show you some additional interesting stuff. So in WebMatrix and web pages, we are all pushing simplicity, easiness. People can go get started really, really easy. So there is this API, which is websecurity.isauthenticated. If you just put that around, authentication will happen. And right now, I just basically literally said response.redirect to href account login. And I'll show you the account login page also. Now, everything in this account directory is stock code for membership and stuff, so that you don't really have to learn all the details. You can read it. It's pretty straightforward. But right now, it's going to redirect to this login page, right? So I just did that. Come back again and then save it, run, and then say propose. And this time, because I'm not signed in, it automatically goes to the login page. Now, my options over here are to go ahead and register and say, hey, I want to register with this site, and then propose a session. But we know that most people nowadays are not interested in spending all their time and trying to create accounts for several different places and then try to remember their account passwords and stuff like that. And for a person like me, I have a Word document where all my passwords are saved. You might have an Excel sheet or whatever else. But you do not want to do that. Rather, just use something which is existing. And that is the reason we wanted to make this particular feature built inside WebMatrix and Web Pages, is to enable Facebook and Twitter authentication and Windows Live authentication stuff really, really easily. How many of you actually wrote that feature in your site ever? Like Facebook or Twitter or? So 2-3 people who have done that, you might probably know that it is not that straightforward. Writing an OAuth client and trying to do all that stuff is complicated, and you do not want to go ahead and try to spend. And I personally spent a lot of time. I almost was questioning myself that, am I still a web developer? Why am I not getting this right? What is going wrong in several places? But the whole point is that now you don't have to feel that bad. There's something really, really easy and simple. So we are going to go down over here. There's this special page called appstart.cshtml. This page basically is running when the app starts. And in here, again, there is stock content. This is, again, in the starter site. And this new library which says OAuth web security.register OAuth client. There are different types of OAuth clients that we are providing in the box, which is Windows Live, Twitter, Facebook. And what I'm going to do is to actually use this and uncomment it. And also, just for all you guys, what is special is that we are also providing the Facebook consumer key and secret for my app in the stock applications. No, we're not doing that. I just did this for just demo purposes because, again, my hands start trembling and then I copy wrong stuff and things like that. But anyways, I just did that, and what I'm going to do next is to go back over here and go to this Facebook, and this is literally what you have to do. This is not an exaggeration. You go to developers.facebook.com, click on this app stuff, create a new app. Once you create a new app, then you will have to fill in all these fields. It gives you the app ID and app secret, and then you have to fill in all these fields like the way I have filled in. What is interesting is that it will also ask you for your local host, or it will ask you for your site URL, right? And the reason why is that when the call is made to Facebook tries to check what is the URL referrer, and if the URL referrer is not the actual site, then it basically says, hey, there is some man in the middle, we do not want to deal with that, and it will whack you down. So in this situation, because our page is running on 4.13.1.3, we started this site from scratch, so I couldn't have gone ahead and put this thing correctly. This is brand new. So 4.13.1.3. Go back over here and say on Facebook side, 4.13.1.3. See, I told you I cannot type well. 4.13.1.3, and save changes. And these changes are saved. Hopefully you will be lucky and it will propagate. But now we have this thing going on. We do not yet have the Facebook and Twitter login links, right? So if we go back to our account login page, right, this is also something which will come in the stock template, that you come down over here at the very bottom, and you will notice that we have this commented stuff. In ASP.NET Razor, @ is essentially comment. So simple stuff to remember. So I'm going to uncomment it, although we don't have the Twitter and Windows Live and stuff like that, but it is similar stuff. You just basically go register an app and do that, save this, and run the page again, hit propose, and now you have Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff. I'm going to click on Facebook, and boom. It went to Facebook, identified that it is me, associate, and you can see over top that my name from Facebook popped in over here. When I click on propose, it works. So really, really simple, huh? So we did a bunch of things. We actually now have a site which has got a bunch of pages. We learned Razor syntax, looked at all the HTML5, CSS3. I'm not going to show JavaScript editor, but we have JavaScript IntelliSense, jQuery IntelliSense, all that stuff built in. All that things are all new. And next, what we will do finally is try to see how our site looks like in the mobile world, right? So let me go back over here, and let's see if I can type 41313 and run the page, right? And you will see that it is not really, really usable in mobile world. Now this is again because of a trick of mine, which I will show you. Well, I have made it intentionally look not good. The template will look good much more than what it shows over here. If I go down to site layout, which is our layout page, at the top there is this viewport. And if you put the viewport, then the site becomes slightly more intelligent to device width. And now if I go back and refresh, oh, something has to go wrong in the demo, and so that is what it is. Let us go ahead and click refresh on this. And you will see that it just became much bigger, much more readable. But as you can probably see, it is still not up to mark, right? Means there is just register, the login is gone, the propose is getting cut off and stuff like that. We want to make it slightly better. So what I'm going to do is to go back over here and use my NuGet again. That was the second NuGet. So add local packages, second build starter site, install, accept. And what this is, you might have seen it in the keynote that now we are also supporting jQuery mobile project, and we are trying to use that inside. And how many of you actually saw the jQuery mobile demo in the keynote? Most of you did, right? So hopefully very little to explain. Just show you what it did. Basically added the script, jQuery mobile, right? It added the styles, jQuery mobile, and then m-, which is my custom style for jQuery. And then it added site layout.mobile.cshtml. Now what is interesting about this is that, again, web pages too comes up with this notion of if you say .mobile, if you have a .mobile page, then it's going to call the .mobile page, right? So automatically does the redirection for you. Detects the user agent. It's simple code, but still, detects the user agent, does the redirection. So now that we have this page, and I'll quickly show you what jQuery mobile magic is. That jQuery mobile is, interestingly, it itself is a JavaScript library, but the way you use it is not really writing JavaScript. But people think jQuery is always JavaScript. What is interesting is that it comes up with this, again, magical data dash attributes. You can use things like data dash role, and things like these page, header, footer, stuff like that come inbuilt. As soon as it sees those things, the script basically says, oh, it is a page, and I need to apply this CSS style to it. And that is why you basically have the style over here, and then the script. So the combination of those three things is what is actually doing the magic. And then I'm over here saying data dash theme equal to m, which is what is working based on convention, that it's saying this is the m style, and that's what I need to use. So data dash role, I can go and do something similar, like I can go down to my speaker and then just apply over here data dash role equal to list view, right? Or whatever else I wanted to put down. But the nice part is that when I run this page next, and if it is not cached right now, because this phone is notorious to cache things, then it will go ahead and do the right thing. So see, now you can basically see the register and all these things correctly. I can go on speaker, and hopefully the speakers is not a bullet point list, and it basically does the right thing. See, it does that, but if we go back to our site, right? If we go back to site and check the same page and click on speakers, then it is still a list view because that styling does not interfere with your desktop styling, right? So we just learned how easy it is for jQuery mobile to go ahead and style up your site. And you can do the same thing for tablets and for mobile phones and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. You should certainly check it out. And this is something jQuery mobile, independent of WebMatrix, can be used right now, right? So it's something which is available today. So finally, we have done all these things. And then the last daredevil act that I'm going to do is to try this site and go ahead and push it, what you just saw live online. So I'm going to actually hit publish, and I'm going to actually dare to do this. So I'm going to hit import. Now this is a XML file which hosting providers give you when you sign up for an account. There will be a small XML file which will come in. You basically say import profile, you get that file, and then WebMatrix will allow you to do validate connection successful, right? And it says, okay, there is a starter site DB. I'm going to hit save. And as soon as that happens, WebMatrix 2 allows you to now say, let me know whether you want me to check whether your site is compatible with your hosting provider, which is interesting because what it needs to do is that if it is a PHP site with MySQL, it needs to find out whether that exists over there. Same with ASP.NET, .NET Framework versions, you name it. There are a bunch of things, right? So I'm going to over here say yes. And what it is right now trying to do is that it's trying to go ahead and check ASP.NET version, dropping a simple HTML page, make sure all of that runs. So I'm going to say continue. And right now it's going ahead and determining the changes. It's saying, hey, you never published. There are all the files that you need to publish. But interestingly, if there was already publishing which was done, it would just show you the Delta pages, right? So in this situation, I'm just going to do that and hit continue. And then you can see that the publishing is complete. I can click on this link and builddemo1.entariscloud.com. You can go ahead and check that out live right now from your phones, from your slate. We just published a site, right? We coded a site, and we actually published it too, so which is pretty awesome. Thank you. But that is not it. There's just one last thing, right? There's always this one last thing. In WebMatrix 2, we have this special feature called remote. So you can click on remote, and all these things that we did, it allows you to check your compatibility. It allows you to sync your remote site to local, or it allows you to even open a remote view. So when I click on this, notice what just happens. I'm clicking on it, and it actually is showing me the entire site, which is deployed as it is locally. I can go down over here, and it opened my default.cshtml from the remote location, and I'm saying, do what you have always imagined with WebMatrix, right? And then save it. In this situation, it's going to save it remotely, and then I'm going to just run this page again, and then boom, done. So that is what, my friends, is WebMatrix 2, just a quick overview. Right now, you can go to webmatrix.com/next and download it and use it. And hopefully you enjoyed. But again, one more last thing before you go, right? So one more last thing before you go is you need to fill in evals, make this session the best session in the conference. And then what we will do is, this is because of this reason, see? What about free? So right now, we are announcing that all these 5 hosting partners are giving you free hosting accounts, and in particularly, Applied Innovation is giving you free hosting for 1 entire year. And so you can basically go ahead and take this, use WebMatrix 2, play around, and for the gentleman back there who is trying to take a picture, you do not have to, because what I have done is that I have created this awesome, awesome brochure. And you basically come in with your tablet, with your session evals open. We will make sure that you're doing the right thing. And as you do that, then you can pick this one paper and then walk away. But no, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed the show. And that is to WebMatrix 2 beta. Thank you so much.